Major questions remain for Harris, who says she'll earn the nomination, and is reportedly already talking to potential vice presidential candidates. The DNC Rules Committee meets Wednesday to implement a framework to select a new nominee. President Biden says he'll address the nation this week to further explain his decision. And with that, let's bring in Faith Nation contributor and the editor and publisher of Inside Elections, Nathan Gonzales, as well as Justin Giboney, president and executive director of the AND campaign. Thank you both for being with us. Justin, let's start with you. We've seen Democrats rallying behind the vice president, but is there still a chance someone else could challenge her in an open convention?
There's a small chance. I don't expect that'll happen. You may have someone like Dean Phillips try to come in. Joe Manchin mentioned that he would try, but then kind of backed out of it. So I don't expect that. I think technically there may be a process, but the way that this is coming out, especially with Pelosi just endorsing her, there won't be much of a real process. I think Democrats are all getting behind Kamala Harris.
That's definitely how it seems. Now, Nathan, Biden was trailing behind Trump for months. How does Harris poll against the former president?
Well, initially, she polls maybe a couple of points better than Biden, but this is a game changer because it completely changes the conversation. Ever since the debate, we were talking about Biden's age. Is he old enough? Is he young? Can he do it? And this changes the equation. There's still going to be some talk about the president, but now it's a new matchup. And Republicans are going to try to hold the vice president responsible for all the things they don't like about the administration. But this is going to allow a broader conversation about the matchup between Harris and Trump and about what Trump has done or is going to do in the future. It has energized the Democratic base. And now I think the fight is going to be over independent voters. And if for those voters who said that both candidates were too old, Democrats are offering an alternative. For people who didn't like, it's the same matchup as 2020. Democrats are offering an alternative. And so this is, I think it's going to take a couple weeks to see how this changed it. But this just changing the narrative is what Democrats needed at the beginning.
Sticking with that kind of strategy change, we have heard these attacks about Biden's age, but now President Trump is the oldest candidate in the race. He's 78 years old. For both of you, what do you think the strategy will be against Harris? How do we think Trump will attack her?
Well, I think for one, they'll try to tie her to what they see as the failures of the administration that she was part of. And so a lot of the attacks, especially policy attacks that were used against Biden, similarly might be used against her. I think even when she ran, she made some statements that I think they'll try to pull back, whether it be her stances with Black Lives Matter, things of that nature. I think they'll try to show her as someone who's not quite ready and someone who was tied to some failures that they've been talking about for a while.
Right. Harris did spend most of her life as a prosecutor before entering politics. What are the chances, Nathan, that we see her lean into the narrative that a veteran prosecutor is now taking on a convicted felon in the battle for the White House?
I think they're going to lean into it. I think Democrats like that matchup, and they're going to use it as an opportunity to highlight the legal trouble that the former president has been in. And I know those cases have either resolved or not resolved or pushed aside, but it doesn't change that fundamentally. And so, Harris is not the perfect candidate, but we have to remember that since the debate, Trump had a distinct advantage in the race. I think he has a distinct advantage now, but this is at least an opportunity for Democrats to have it be different. And we're going to be talking about the same upper Midwest states, and we could talk about running mates and how that might impact things. But there's a new energy around Democrats that is maybe close to what we saw in Milwaukee. I was at the convention. Republicans were unified, energized. They were feeling good. And this throws a little bit of a wrench into that conversation.
We are going to talk about running mates. But first, Justin, anything to add there?
No, I think Nathan has a very good point. There's a renewed energy among Democrats. You have a new candidate who doesn't suffer from some of the same ailments, so to speak. And even if you talk about the African-American professional class and political class and parts of the base, you can tell that people are excited. People are getting out, sororities and fraternities coming together saying, we're going to push this through. And so I think it is a more formidable opponent than they had in Biden. Maybe not by much, but I think time will tell. Also, this gives a chance for Kamala to reestablish herself and come out and kind of run on her profile and let that wave take her where it can.
All right. Any input from either of you on who could have the best chance of being selected as Harris's running mate, and what's on the line here when it comes to her choice?
I think this is going to be a big decision. This is going to be a big decision because it's going to be her first major decision that everyone's going to focus on. There are kind of four main people talked about right now. Three governors, Governor Roy Cooper of North Carolina, Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, and Andy Beshear of Kentucky. Interesting enough, they've all been state attorneys general in the past, as was Kamala Harris before the Senate and before becoming vice president. I think all of those are sort of safe picks, or maybe picks that you make in order to not lose. But I think that Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona is the one that it would show that Democrats are in this to win it. He is a former astronaut, a Navy pilot. He's also married to Gabby Giffords, who was shot at a constituent event in 2011 in Tucson. One of the Democrats' best fundraisers. I think that is he has the ability to reach a national audience, right? His resume or profile might cause people outside of Arizona to say, oh, okay, I'll pay attention. I'll listen to what he has to say. Whereas the other candidates would be fine. I don't think Democrats would lose because of them, but I don't know that they're going to have a national profile.
Justin, what are your thoughts on that?
I would push back a little bit. I think what Nathan says is right about that candidate. However, he's in the Senate, and so that could cause a problem for Democrats in the Senate if they pull him out. I don't think he's out of the running, but I think a Beshear may make a little more sense. But Kelly is right in there. He's on the short list, and we'll see what happens. I think that Senate component might make a difference, though, there.
All right, Justin, as we wrap things up, what role do Christian leaders have during such unprecedented times?
I think number one has to be perspective and sobriety. This is a dark moment for us right now after an attempted assassination, all this polarization. And more than pushing any particular candidate, we need to make sure that people are ready to coexist after the election, make sure people have hope and are aspirational after this is all over, whether they win or lose. And so that's what I think. Talk about the principles. You can mention that, you can mention what's going on, but make sure that people can coexist and be hopeful after all of this is over.
So important, and such great insights from both of you. Justin, Nathan, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.